It goes without saying, my dear friends, that each and every one of us, if you have been a believer, if you have been taking part in the liturgy in the church, we all are familiar with this story or the experience of Jesus, which we call the transfiguration of Jesus. Transfiguration, the figure that Jesus had, the physical self that Jesus possessed, was transformed, and there was something that was extraordinary about the transfiguration. The dazzling white it became, and the disciples who were there were not able to fathom as to what was going on. It was something that was extraordinary, unusual, and not something that they themselves were able to deal with, as it were. Now, if you step back and ask yourself the question, what does it mean to be transfigured? What is this? Is it possible for a human person to have something that is so extraordinary that your body becomes dazzling white, that your clothes become so glittering white, and that there is a vision that is around where the disciples or the other parties were able to see something that was going on, which even transformed them. Now, is it possible? Is it believable? Is it something that's normal? Or if it is not normal, what is it? How do we explain this? Now, for anyone who is into science and technology, in the modern day physical understanding of the physical realities, this sounds a little bit out of the ordinary. One can say, how can this be? How do we believe this? Of course, we can reduce it to normal faith of an individual who wants to believe this, who accept Christ as the Son of God, accept Jesus as someone who was extraordinary, maybe will go along with it. But take an example of an atheist or someone who doesn't believe in this kind of thing. They can point out the finger and say, what are you talking about? Is this possible? This is not all right. This is just imagination. This is just hypothetical, and this cannot be so. Now, encountering such questions and criticisms, my dear friends, how do we, especially as believers, believing in Jesus, believing in His message, believing in the creation story that is found in the Bible, how do we make sense of this? My dear friends, the world as it has developed itself in science and technology, there are so many indications which has come through the disciplines of science and technology, which tells us that the human body is the center of this entire cosmos. The only person that I can refer to here is one of the great products of the Catholic Church, Father Teilhard de Chardin, who lived in the 20th century. He was a scientist, paleontologist, philosopher, a visionary. And he, after his study of the entire cosmic reality, learning about the soil of the earth, and in fact, he was responsible for the discovery of Peking Man in the whole scientific explanation of the evolution of the world. What he says, and he was firmly convinced of this, that human person is the creative center of the entire cosmic reality. If you take anyone trying to understand the entire reality of the cosmos, what is there, the skies, the planets, the galaxies, the world that we live in, what he says is man, human person, is the creative center. And so therefore, the evolution of the universe and its completion happens only in the understanding of the consciousness of human life. Now, mind you, when someone says that the center of all creation is human person, that he is the center, that he is the person who carries the entire, the beauty and the depth of creation, then it goes without saying that within us there is something unexplainable. There is something that cannot be explained. Now that is why Teilhard de Chardin, in his writings, he says something that's extraordinarily meaningful. What he says is, we are not human beings with spiritual experiences. In capturing the entire understanding and the discovery of the depth of the human person and the human consciousness, which is beyond any scientific explanation, he says, we are spiritual beings with human experiences, and we are not human beings with spiritual experiences. Now, the difference is that he refers to the human person as foundationally spiritual reality. Now, what does that mean? That means the physical self, the body that we have, the entire understanding of the human person has to be foundationally at the center of this consciousness, which is unexplainable, which is beyond any scientific explanation. Now, let me explain this. My dear friends, all of us, when we are in our unconscious reality, that is, when we fall asleep in the night, we see a dream that can never be produced consciously. For example, you and I can never go to sleep saying, tonight I am going to see a dream about my own aunt or my own uncle or my father or my mother. A dream is produced, a dream is given, a dream is created not by your physical body, but your psyche that is within you. Now, when you study depth psychology, they say the dreams that human beings see, which we all do, is something that you cannot scientifically explain. Now, mind you, my dear friends, there are so many people who see dreams about what is to happen in another time that is to come. Now, there are people who will see an accident before it happens. I have personally met and encountered so many people who have seen the death of their father or mother, or an accident that happens to them later on, maybe 3 months after, 6 months after, but they have seen it before. What does that mean? Your psyche, your inner consciousness, your unconsciousness, which is something that is scientifically unexplainable, brings out something that is so deeply unexplainable and mysterious. Now, my dear friends, when you apply this presence of this unexplainable reality within ourselves, Jesus was somebody who last Sunday went into the desert for 40 days and he encountered the shadow within, the darkness within. He really unraveled to himself what was evil within. And now he comes to the mountain here again, and then he encounters the glistening white, the brightness of his body, which is an awakening of that inner spirit that was within him, which became a transforming experience for the other disciples who were not at that level of inner awakening of his spiritual beingness. So therefore, my dear friends, transfiguration is something that we can experience in a way when we see a dream in the night. We do not know how it comes. There are people who see dreams that can be very transforming experiences. There are people who say that they see dreams, and in their dreams they feel that something happens to their bodies. Now, that is a very primitive and minor and a foundational level experience of the inner self, that is the divine self, or what we can say the divine consciousness that we all have deep within. When you see something that is to happen, that's a divine experience. That's an explanation or experience of your own divinity within, the unexplainable, mysterious part of you. Jesus' experience of transfiguration was a greater experience of what we go through in our day-to-day ordinary life. So therefore, my dear friends, the message for us is, you and I are not just physical bodies, we are spiritual bodies. That is why Teilhard's explanation of the human reality is so true. We are not human beings with spiritual experiences, we are spiritual beings with human experiences. So true for all of us and also for Jesus.